Now back to the show. This is The Law Show on CL 650.
There's the Legal Man song for our two lawyer guests, Gordon Maynard and Rudy Kischer from Maynard, Kischer, Stojicevic, immigration and citizenship lawyers here in Vancouver, downtown on Hamilton Street. Welcome back to the Law Show here on CIL 650. I'm Sterling Fox. The theme for the program today has been and remains refugees. And we've talked a lot about what individual Canadians and groups of Canadians can do to help the situation. We've talked a lot about the legal definition of refugees and asylum and all that sort of thing. But what we haven't included so far in the discussion, to the dismay of Gordon Maynard, I hasten to add, is the political involvement in all of this. So we referred to the government of Canada and various other governments, but now we're talking political parties. And here we go. The Minister of Immigration says Canada has one of the most generous per capita immigration and refugee resettlement programs in the world. The Prime Minister of the country says Canada has one of the most generous refugee systems in the world. These statements have been made quite recently, but they've been followed also by headlines such as this one. Canada's vaunted refugee acceptance falls short. And that is reflective, of course, of what the opposition politicians are saying, Gordon. So who's right here?
Let's take the statement by Minister Alexander.
Okay.
You have to read the words carefully. I've always said when you go to law school, you're told you'll never read a newspaper the same way again. You got to recognize that his statement has many key catchwords in it. Mm-hmm. One of the most generous immigration and refugee per capita program of refugee resettlement.
Correct.
There are qualifiers in there.
Right.
He is talking about refugee resettlement, which, remember, is only 100,000 of the 20 million per year refugees, displaced persons that are out there.
Right.
Of which Canada only takes 10%.
Right.
10%.
Yep.
All right, say 12,000 a year. The rest of the world and the rest of those displaced persons are being dealt with by asylum applications in their country of refuge. If you look at the total numbers, take some countries and look at how many refugees do you have in that country. On an annual basis, how many are you recognizing either through resettlement or through asylum claims?
Right.
The numbers speak differently. All right, so I looked at 2014. Sweden had 60,000 refugees that year. USA, 126,000. Australia, 18,000. Germany, 70,000. Canada had 20,000. That's resettlement and in-Canada claims and privately sponsored. Okay. When you look at that as per population, Canada comes out better than the USA and Australia, but far behind Germany and Sweden. Sweden in particular takes 6,000 per million population. We take 588 per million population.
Interesting.
If you look at the population of refugees within our borders, just as a fraction of our population, we rank 41st in the world. Right? Refugee population per domestic population.
Right.
If you look at it by gross domestic product, we rank 55th in the world.
So the other politicians, though, in this election, Rudy, they're playing a numbers game. One is saying, well, we need 25,000 more. The other one's saying another 10,000. I don't even know what the Greenies are saying, but it sounds a little dangerous from the point of view of just throwing those numbers around, playing, obviously, to the sympathies of Canadians, but it sounds a little disingenuous, if you don't mind my saying.
I don't know if it's disingenuous or they don't really understand the process. I don't know if anybody giving advice to the NDP or giving advice to the Liberals, if they've actually talked to somebody that had that worked in the immigration department. The numbers that the New Democrats have said, 10,000 government-sponsored refugees by the end of 2015.
Yes.
Well, it's not too far away. The Liberals are saying for 25,000 by January 1st, 2016. Those are large numbers. When you consider we resettle every year, in total, 10,000, right? About 10 to 12,000 we resettle every year, and they're saying they want to do that in 4 months from scratch with people that don't have applications in, haven't been medically screened, haven't been security checked. To me, it's almost it would almost be dangerous to do it that fast, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think to try and do it that fast would mean mobilizing the civil service, and as Gordon's mentioned before, they've cut the civil service tremendously. So I don't even know if you have the people that are able to actually, our whole immigration system has tried to move towards something that's online. right? So we've closed offices in Canada, we've closed offices overseas,
yes,
and we've tried to move to a computer-based system, which means we don't have and then they've laid off immigration officers. So that means we don't even have the people right now. Those people would need to be trained in how to do this. They'd have to fly overseas. They'd have to select those people. Those people would have to be screened for health, etc. You'd have to have the infrastructure to do it and then get them back.
So even if nothing else, the suggestion is impractical.
I think it's impractical, if not next to impossible.
Right, Gordon. Any thoughts on the numbers game that's being played by politicians around this very human tragedy?
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity here to speak about the actual numbers. And that's the way the discussion should be had.
Absolutely.
The practical realities of how many people are out there in need, what are we doing in terms of our fair share, however you measure that fair share, and get rid of the hyperbole. Just talk about the facts. Rudy brings up a very good point. There are practical necessities to the process. You're probably not going to find a solution that can be attained within 4 months or maybe even 12 months. But with time and with cooperation with countries like Germany, countries throughout the European Union that are housing these people right now, we can work on sharing that load. And I believe we should. I think the numbers support it.
Right.
But you can't rush at it. You have to do it in a organized manner and an effective manner.
Well, I'd like to come back to something Gordon said that I strongly think we have to be careful of. I don't think we should be taking anybody from Germany or Greece. I think unless they're family-sponsored refugees, I think generally our focus should be people in Lebanon and in Turkey. We don't want to encourage the flow of migration, right? We want them to make their claim and stay settled and give them hope at their first stop. We don't want to encourage more people taking dangerous trips.
Gordon, you mentioned at the beginning of the program that refugee work is not a very big part of Maynard Kischer Stojicevic, but on the website, vancouverlaw.ca, can a person get information about some of the material that we've discussed this morning? Can refugees or people interested in finding out more about refugees and asylum, can we direct them to vancouverlaw.ca as a good jumping off spot?
Absolutely, and we're happy to answer their concerns. We're happy to point them in the right direction. We're happy to do what we can for them.
Good stuff. Okay, vancouverlaw.ca is the official website of Maynard Kischer Stojicevic, immigration lawyers downtown at 1168 Hamilton Street in Vancouver. Rudy and Gordon, thanks so much for this. A fascinating and extremely timely conversation. Very much appreciated.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Red Robinson and the Diner are next.